I am Tycho, the child of chaos, and it is with great pride that I bring you the 10th edition Chaos Space Marine Codex, or at least my impressions thereof. This book is so cool! It's been so long since I've got a really meaty Chaos Space Marine Codex to dig my teeth into, and this here is it. It's it! It's it! This is a really generous offering from Games Workshop, full of so many thematic, interesting, intricate rules that blend into each other that allow you to play Chaos Space Marines in a variety of really interesting and diverse ways. So let's dive in and figure out what they've brought to us with Codex Chaos Space Marines in 10th edition. First things first, they got a lot of great lore in here. I love the way they write the Chaos lore, where you get to actually get a little bit of a glimpse into the mind of different members of this terrible legion of vicious, murdering madmen who come from the warp to take their grievances back to the Empire. For those of you that are new, Chaos Space Marines are the Space Marines that fought against the Emperor and his minions during the Horus Heresy, and were banished to the warp. They fought under Horus. Horus went down, but the Chaos Space Marines weren't finished. So, they escaped to the warp, making pacts with demons and coming back stronger than ever, infused with warp-fueled madness and weapons and the experience of 10,000 years of plotting the demise of the Empire. Chaos Space Marines follow the Chaos Gods. There's 4 of them, you know them, you love them. Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, and Tzeentch. But Chaos Space Marines aren't pigeonholed completely just into how they follow their god. There are god-specific Chaos Space Marine legions that are covered in other books. So we're talking about the Death Guard, who are the followers of Nurgle, or the World Eaters, who follow Khorne. One thing that is conspicuously missing from this book is something that existed in the last index, which is Lucius the Eternal and rules for Noise Marines and stuff like that. Doesn't exist in here. So hopefully the Emperor's children are going to get their due. Can't wait to see that happen. Let's talk about some of the rules changes to how Chaos Space Marines are going to play overall. First off, Dark Pacts. Dark Pacts are the basic way that Chaos Space Marines associate with their dark gods. They can take a leadership test and give themselves either sustained hits or lethal hits whenever they want. This is just what they do. They can make a Dark Pact before they make an attack of some sort, and they're able to make it lethal or sustained. Now, Dark Pacts in the past was stated that you had to take your test after you completed your attacks. That's changed. Now, you take your Dark Pact test right away, and the damage it may cause your unit, because if you fail your Dark Pact leadership test, you take D3 mortal wounds. That's a lot. So you can actually really destroy your own units pretty quickly if you start failing Dark Pacts. And some of the detachments in here actually lower your leadership when it comes to your Dark Pact rolls, which can make a big difference on how many wounds you take from your own calling of the Dark Gods. But the power is immense. Being able to be lethal or sustained is a massive boost to any unit's damage output. I think this was overall a little bit of a power nerf, but it is a huge boon in terms of how the game is played. I can't tell you how often I forgot to make my Dark Pact roll after I completed all my attacks because I had to declare it before, then remember to make it afterwards. It didn't work in my head. This is a fantastic upgrade to the playability of the Chaos Space Marines Army book in general. It allows you to be smooth with how you apply your rules in the real world. I like that a lot. Now to the detachments. They have actually in here 8 separate detachments on how to play Chaos Space Marines. What a sumptuous offering of different intricate ways to get your Chaos Space Marines onto the table. And in here are some really interesting and perhaps even new ways to play. This is more than any other codex has received. And not only that, they're all interesting. And I think that some people are going to find exactly what they're looking for in one of these really interesting detachments. So these detachments really define how your Chaos army is going to work. So the first one I want to talk about is the first one, which is the Veterans of the Long War. Now the Veterans of the Long War are very much Chaos Space Marines. So their main ability is a little bit like the Space Marine ability of Oath of Moment. They get to pick a unit and re-roll to hit on it. My favorite Veterans of the Long War enhancement is the War Master's Gift. This allows critical to wound rolls on 5 or up, only on a Chaos Lord. But he gets a Demon Hammer, which has devastating wounds, which means that you'll be able to do devastating wounds on a 5-up, making that Chaos Lord deeply dangerous to your opponent. The Millennia of Experience stratagem allows them to move towards or away when you get near their units. This is super powerful. I've had Tak pull these shenanigans on me with his White Scars more than once. One thing to note about the Veterans of the Long War is they don't jive too much with cultists. Most of their stratagems have a carve-out, and they do not work on damned units, which all the cultist units have. So, if you're playing large herds of cultists, this is probably not the one for you. The Veterans of the Long War feel like the Black Crusade made manifest, and your cultists are going to be afterthoughts, just sacrificial troops, and you're not going to be looking for a lot of damage from them. You'll be looking to your Legionnaires, your Terminators, and other real Heretic Astartes units to do your damage for the Veterans of the Long War. One thing you're going to have to watch out for the Veterans of the Long War is Bringers of Despair. For 2 command points, they can fight first. This is a massive advantage and can totally swing the tide on people even charging you. It can really make a huge difference when and where these fights happen, and if a huge batch of Terminators is going to fight before you, even when you charge them, this could spell curtains for many units trying to attack the Veterans of the Long War. Detachment number 2, the Deceptors. This is Alpha Legion. Through and through. The Masters of Misdirection is their army rule, which allows them to infiltrate many units. At 2,000 points, we're talking 6 units. 3 units of cultists and 3 units of legionnaires get to take the field way up whenever they want in no man's land outside of 9 inches of the enemy deployment zone. They get to infiltrate. This is massive. This could easily be 90 models in the middle of the map, taking it to the foe before they even know what's happening. The Deceptors have some really cool internal synergy on how they can trick the foe. And get back to Deceptors, Alpha Legion. They've got a really cool enhancement called Soul Link. This allows them to swap stats with another one of the characters that are on the map. So this can be a really interesting moment where you think it's just a minor character, but all of a sudden, he's got the stats of a Chaos Lord when he's fighting against you. They can take on the rules and the abilities of other units. That's kind of interesting, and is going to be really open for interesting plays for smart generals who are able to put together interesting abilities and move them around the tabletop using this ability. One of my favorite stratagems for the Deceptors, this is going to be Nick's favorite too, is Detonator. If you have a character within 18 inches of an enemy model that has the Deadly Demise ability, you can set it off with no roll required. So when that unit dies, it just detonates and hurts everything around it. This could be massive in certain situations where a large model surrounded by all his friends gets taken out and you just make sure all of them pay. Kaboom! This is the kind of cool stuff that the Chaos Space Marines can do that other armies can't, is switch these abilities on and off, where a lot of armies have to have them built into their units. The next detachment are the Renegade Raiders, the Red Corsairs, if you will, of this Chaos Space Marine 10th edition Codex. The Renegade Raiders' army ability is Raiders and Reavers. What this allows them to do is advance and shoot. It turns all weapons in the entire board into assault weapons. This is super powerful, allowing your models to fly around the board at breakneck speed and still get their damage from shooting off. On top of that, this army gets +1 to their armor penetration of all weapons against units that are on objectives. This is monstrous. This is going to up the damage of every model on your tabletop to enemies that are where you want to kill them. Renegade Reaver stratagems. Reaver's Haste is going to give you advanced charge on infantry and mounted units. This is fantastic and goes along with the ability to advance and shoot, making this army speedy, quick, and agile. Another interesting tidbit from the Renegade Reavers is the Scour and Seize stratagem. This is going to give you precision on an entire unit. Only in the fight phase, but let's sink that in. That means any one of your units can just start offing enemy characters when and where they need to. It's going to be pretty fun. I think Renegade Reavers are going to be super dynamic and might be my favorite way to play Chaos Space Marines. We'll find out. I have yet to test all of these. There's too many of them. Dread Talons. This detachment is the Night Lords. Terror Descends is an aura around all of your models that is going to give them -1 to their battle shock tests and force them to take battle shock tests when they are just below full strength, not just below half strength. This means that battle shock tests are going to be common. They're going to be going out across the enemy army very much when you are in their face. It means that you have to play aggressive, but you can take advantage of battle shock in a variety of ways. The stratagems for the Dread Talons tend to only work on units that are below full strength or are battle shocked. But when they work, oh, do they ever. Pitiless Hunters. For 1 command point, you can reroll the hit and reroll the wound. Depthless Cruelty. Add 1 to your AP. This is, again, super deadly and can be stacked with Pitiless Hunters. This is going to make it super easy to pick up units if they are battle shocked or below full strength. To go along with this, they have a really thematic stratagem called Bloody Example. This only happens when one of your characters destroys an enemy character. But for 1 command point, you can force battle shock tests on every enemy unit within 12 inches. All will cower before us. There are certain units in the Chaos Space Marine book that also cause battle shock tests that are going to be invaluable in a Dread Talon warband. Can't wait to see someone put together that to full effect. This one may be really, really powerful. I do find that it's really difficult to use their stratagems until the enemy is damaged or battle shocked, meaning that it might be difficult in certain situations to find a stratagem to use. But Chaos Space Marines are deadly, and Dark Pacts are throughout. So, don't worry, folks. You'll be able to make that happen, I promise. The Fellhammer Siege Host. The Iron Warriors are right at home here. This is a really, really, really powerful detachment ability, Iron Fortitude. This army ability makes all of your Heretic Astartes, not the Damned, not your cultists, if the strength characteristic of an attack is higher than your toughness, they get -1 to wound. This means that you don't really get wounded on 3s. Your tanks, when they get hit with a huge, big las cannon or something really, really mean that overtops their toughness, they're probably still going to be wounding you on 4s. It's going to increase the survivability of every model in your army, well, except the damned units. And especially for large, big models, this can be a big, big bonus, making the enemy anti-tank less sharp when it comes to killing your tanks. I think this ability, because it's a blanket ability, so simple, so sweet, so powerful, is going to be a really popular one when it comes to playing Chaos Space Marines. To go along with all this big defensive stacking, you get more defensive stacking. So one of their best, I think, enhancements is the Bastion Plate. A Chaos Lord model can take this, and it allows them to, once per battle round, reduce the damage of an attack to 0. This is going to make your Terminators even tougher. To make this armor even more defensive, they have Siegecraft. For 1 command point, you can reduce an enemy charge by 2. This is huge! Failed charges are amongst the best ways to win and lose a game. Now we get to Pact-Bound Zealots. This is the home of people who've really enjoyed playing Index 10th Edition Chaos Space Marines. It's basically exactly the same as it was before, almost no changes in enhancements or even in the stratagems. You know it, you love it, it's a warm bath. Pact-Bound Zealots. Enjoy, folks. Here is one of the big new ones. This is actually a really, really massive shift in how you would play a Chaos Space Marine army. The Chaos Cult. Every single stratagem in this particular detachment only works on Chaos Cultists. The only time it mentions a Heretic Astartes regular unit is when it says that you can actually take the damage on the Chaos Cultists instead of that unit when you're shooting at the Heretic Astartes unit. All of these stratagems, everything in here is based around cultist units, the Damned. So, their big ability is Desperate Pacts. On top of your Dark Pact, you can make a Desperate Pact, which gives you further powers. Desperate Pacts generally revolve around making your units move faster, and they are usually used after moving. On top of that, many of the stratagems allow you to, when you Desperate Pact, boost your units even farther, giving them +1 to wound and extra strength and a whole variety of ways to make your cultists actually do lasting damage to your opponent through the game. So you're going to actually have to rely a bit on your stratagems in this because cultists aren't the greatest damage dealers on their own, but you've got the tools now to make an entire cultist horde work. Soul-Forged Warpack, Vash Tor has arrived! This is a fantastic, raw, powerful, works on your demon engines and allows you to make other vehicles into demon engines. This is a super amazing detachment rule. When you Dark Pact, you actually get a minus to your leadership, making your Dark Pacts hurt you even more often. But in light of all this, when you are dark pacted, you get +1 to wound when you're shooting, or you get +2 attacks to your melee weapons when you're attacking in the melee phase. This makes your damage output massive compared to what it would be for before, but it only works on your demon engines. This Soulforge War Pact is just wrapped up in demon engines. All of your stratagems only work on demon engines. It's demon engines all day. Vash Tor bringing the nastiest of the heavy vehicles infused with chaos to their foes. Amazing stuff. While this is a pretty amazingly raw powerful, there's not a lot of dynamicism built into how this works. A lot of their really powerful items force you to bunch up into essentially castles. This can be really, really powerful, but also a little bit limiting and make it hard for you to move your models around the map as you need to score points. This is a raw power focused detachment, and your foes should really watch out, or they can just get smashed off the tabletop by immense damage from the likes of a Forge Fiend. But the Tempting Addendum is my favorite of the enhancements. This gives demon engines within 3 inches of the Warpsmith +1 to the amount of wounds they take when they fail their Dark Pact. But it also means that demon engines within 3 inches of the Warpsmith get full rerolls to hit. This means that it's like clockwork. The damage output is obscene when you start layering all these buffs together, especially with Vash Tor's +1 strength. You get +1 to wound, you get to reroll. It's just obscene, the amount of damage that single models can output with this attachment when you start layering all the buffs together. I did the counting. I think I was able to put 6 or even maybe 7 different buffs upon this Forge Fiend before I shot Nick with it. He didn't survive.
I'll get you next time!
That is the end of the detachments. I thought they would never end. It's so much detachment goodness in here. From the index, there are a few changes to units that might trip you up when you start trying to play with this Chaos Space Marine Codex. The first one I noticed is Chaos Cultist Mob lost all of their options. All of them. All they get are pistols and brutal assault weapons. That's it. It's a little different. Now, a lot of that stuff has, I guess, been shifted into the Traitor Guardsman category. So there are actually 3 different kinds of cultists you can bring to the table, which is kind of interesting. A couple other changes, Warp Talents. They lost their ability to make people have to fall back with problems and gained uppy downy. They got Warp Surge. They can go at the end of your opponent's movement phase, they can take to the skies to deep strike again next turn. Super powerful, awesome. You'll be seeing packs of 5 Warp Talents all over the place. This is a great ability to be able to score points. Chaos Lord of Jump Pack, he allows you to consolidate up to 6 inches rather than 3. This can be pretty powerful in certain situations. He only gets to go with Raptors though, not with Warp Talents, interestingly enough. The Master of Possession lost a little bit of a step. He actually doesn't give his unit that he is with 6-up Feel No Pain anymore. This is a big nerf actually to the Possessed that always ran around with him. So yeah, he lost a little bit of a step there, but he's still pretty dangerous. He kept his other abilities. The Possessed themselves have changed a little bit as well. Instead of being devastating wounds whenever they like, now it's once per game. Vash Tor has really gained a step. All of his weapons are now anti-vehicle, and his hammer is now devastating. So yeah, watch out, vehicles. Other than that, the data sheets within the book remained largely the same. There may be a couple of tweaks here and there, but probably shouldn't trip you up too much. It's going to be the same Chaos Army that you have got used to in the first half of 10th edition. Overall, this is a sumptuous offering. There is a lot to go through here. There's going to be a lot of combinations that I haven't found yet, that we haven't even figured out yet, that will make this army more and more dangerous as people get their teeth into it, as they are able to figure out how it intricately fits together. I am super excited to get these Chaos models onto the table and see how they do. I've played a little bit with the Soulforge War Pack. Hooey, the damage is spicy. But I still think that the Renegade Raiders may have the most dynamic style of play and maybe the way I want to go for into the future with playing this in a little bit more of a competitive stance. The Chaos Cultists are super interesting, but I don't have enough models. I need like another 100 Chaos Cultists before that's going to be a real useful tactic for me to try. I can't wait to keep on diving into this amazing book. And I really think that you would be well served by picking it up and checking it out and figuring out how your Chaos Army is going to function in the latter half of 10th edition. There's a lot of power buried in here, a lot of really interesting, intricate folding in of strategy, of nuanced abilities, making this not a simple book to use. It's going to take a little bit of time, I think, before the true power is sussed out of here. There's some that are really obvious. The Soulforge pack is going to start smashing opponents right away. But some of the others, you may have to wait a little bit longer for someone to actually figure out really how to wield these really intricate and interesting rules into win after win on the tabletop. Overall, I think this is a fantastic codex that really offers a lot of learning, a lot of play options, a lot of fantastic art and lore, everything you want from a codex. So, I really hope that you enjoyed it as much as I do, and you can get your handle on it and find out some really cool, interesting things for you in this book. And of course, until we see you next time in the grim dark of a far-flung future,